Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. You get fairy dust. I get fairy dust. Little Amelie gets fairy dust. And this is the next video in my series about my eating disorder recovery story. And so today, you last left me, just had an intervention, unplanned, uncoordinated. My husband confronted me and my daughter confronted me, and just with fear in their eyes, fear in their face, and it led to a lightning bolt change, which Gretchen Rubin calls lightning bolt change or habit. When a new piece of information or a new insight or a new new experience makes you instantly change. And that's what happened to me. I didn't purge for 10 years and I thought it was permanent, but unfortunately it wasn't. So in future videos, I'll talk about why that didn't hold fast, but I will tell you that looking back, there were a few things missing. I clearly needed more support than I was getting. I underestimated the amount of support that I needed. So you're wondering, like, well, if she was abstinent or sober from purging, what was she doing? And what I was doing, I was playing with food constantly. So, and also didn't want to eat it, but also wanted to eat it. I was on, in a 12-step program, they'll recommend that you get a food plan so you have some structure to your food. When I was in treatment, the structure was 3 meals a day and nothing in between. So that was and that's an option in the 12-step program I was going to, is just 3 meals. Some of them are like whatever you want to eat in those 3 meals, but the one from treatment, it was like certain amount of protein, certain amount of grain, certain amount of this, certain amount of that, or, like 1 fruit, 1, so I'm an overeater. Like at my very heart, it's more about eating more. So my apples were like my husband calls them baby head apples. The largest apple there. I'll like go through the apple bin and like try to find the biggest one. One banana, like the biggest banana. Like that's me. Like, what's your favorite food? More. That's me. So, and then, sometimes I'd be off this food and then I'm like, I want that food back or whatever. And also that time I was eating, really whatever. There wasn't any, there was a limit, but sometimes I surpassed that limit. But there wasn't any, like foods that I would take away. I would take them away sometimes, but then I'm gonna add them back. And that just created just a lot of chaos and a lot of striving and trying this one and, oh, maybe this new food plan from this person that I wanna do, or this, whatever. So just in these 10 years, my weight's creeping up and there is no freedom. There's no freedom. There is, I just knew I wasn't going to throw up my food. So I did watch I did have to keep an eye on my intake. During this time, I tried intermittent fasting, like, okay, let me do this. Like, I'll only eat, 2 days of like crazy stuff. Just the gamut. There was one with a cheat day. Okay. My cheat day. I was living for the cheat day, and the cheat day was more than what a human should be consuming. So insanity, just insane and miserable. Okay, so I think you get the point. So that's for 10 years. I don't remember the year, but maybe I'm like 43 or some shit, because I'm 56 now. So no, it was longer than that. So maybe in my 40s, let's say. So 10 years ago. God, it doesn't seem, I don't know. Don't quote me, but I do know where I was living. So I do know, I could figure out where the number, but it doesn't matter. Okay. So one day I was at a dinner, very stressful, toxicity-filled dinner, from a toxicity filled day, and I just got home and I walked in the bathroom and I purged after 10 years. 10 years plus. It wasn't 11, but it wasn't right at 10. Like, I just left dinner. Like, we came home. All the toxic people came home with me. I walked into the bathroom and then I threw up my food. And then, bitch, it was off to the races. Like, the high that I had after I did that, the like excitement, and understand, like, every now and then a new food would come out, like a new dessert or some shit or something new at McDonald's or some shit, and I'm like, oh, I can't have that now that I'm so all these things that I missed, like the new kind of M&M, or that it like whatever the new cookie that came out, like I like just like visions of these things, of like, okay, I'm gonna get that and that and that and that, and again, off to the races. I kept it a secret and now my kids are grown and out of the house, so I didn't have that to keep me clean. One of the things, I need to backtrack. One of the things that happened during these 10 years is I should have been going to psychology and majoring in psychology and being a therapist from the jump. Like, that's who I am. INFJ, again, you look up INFJ and it says counselor, like on the top. When it describes the thing on the top, it says counselor. I'm just built for it. But I knew I could never do it while I was just in the throes of my eating disorder. Like, at least I had that respect for the sanctity of the profession and myself, my integrity. And so I got sober. I got sober for purging. And I considered, so understand, like, during this time, I was labeling myself as free from my eating disorder. I wasn't, but that's how I was feeling. And like, whatever, so, the world has food issues. The world has food issues, but when you purge, you're crazy. Like, that's fucking crazy. And so if I'm not doing that, then I'm not fucking crazy. And now I can go to graduate school and become a therapist, which is what I did. And so having clients made me reinforced my freedom from my food addiction. And this is what I said: I will never be a therapist that purges. Like, I will never. I am so, like, I will always be in therapy. If I have a therapy practice, I will also be in therapy. That's my boundary with myself, because I never want any of my shit to work its way into any of my sessions. Got to keep that shit clean. And also, of course, I'm never going to purge again, because I'm a therapist and I would never do that. And so, okay, now fast forward. I've been a therapist. I was a therapist during this time, and then I just walked into the bathroom and I threw up my food. And again, off to the races. There was no like, oh my fucking, I mean, I was scared too. There was no like, oh my fucking God, like, I immediately need to do something about this because I'm a therapist and I need, I have to help myself first and all this shit. And there was none of that. There was all like binge and purge city. Binge and purge city. Another factor that I want to mix into all this is I had migraines. So in my mid 40s or whatever, like, I have a history of migraines, but they started to be really bad in my 40s, and like really bad all day, 5-day headaches, like, that I had to be in bed for or whatever. And I would use those days as permission to overeat. I would use food to cope with the pain, as well as the medicine I was being given by neurologists. So my sponsor, who I dearly love, and she says this with the utmost respect, kindness, and love. But when I told her, like, I need to overeat when I have a migraine, she's like, you're a poor baby. your poor baby. I'm like, yes, I'm a poor baby. I'm like, she called me on my poor baby because at a drop of the hat, if I'm a poor baby, if I'm in too much pain or too much stress or too much this or that, I just easily give myself permission to overeat. So again, off to the races, like, and so I'm like, let me do this for a few days because I need to make up for lost time. Let me do this for a few days and then I will stop. And then a bitch could not stop. I couldn't stop. I was crossing my own boundaries with my clients. I would start to like, if I had 3 days off, then I could be like, okay, I'll binge on the Friday. Let's say I go back to work on Tuesday afternoon. Okay, I'll binge and purge on Friday. And then this is crazy. This is fucking crazy. And it's embarrassing and very humbling. But I want to be honest, and I want to illustrate something very important, which is what I'm going to say after I finish this part of the story. Binge and purge on Friday, and then by the time the clients I'll sober up the next day. So by the time the client comes, I will be like ready to go. And that's fucking crazy. And here's the point that I wanted to make. What I learned, what was completely verified to me, not the day, but in the years. It took me years. Now, in those years to get myself back, there would be like a 6 months sobriety. There would be like a 4 months sobriety. So it wasn't like using all the time. I was waiting to get that thing that happened to me. It happened to me. I was waiting for that thing that happened to me when my husband and my daughter did that interview. I was waiting for that to come again, and I couldn't find anything, and nothing would do it for me. I mean, it was humiliating. I would tell my therapist, but believe me, when I was scheduling the use, scheduling the drug use, food is my drug, and purging is my drug as well. She doesn't need to know. My therapist doesn't need to know. But then, of course, by the time therapy came, I'm like, oh God, like, what am I doing? If I'm lying to my therapist, what the fuck am I doing? What? Okay. So what I now know that it took me all those years, 40 fucking something years to really realize this, that I truly have an addiction. It's in one of the sayings of the 12-step program, which a dear friend, hello sweetheart, reminded me of recently, is knowledge avails us nothing. Knowledge avails us nothing. Freud says our knowledge is used in service of the neurosis. That's that fucking shit of like, let me get sober here so then I can really be present for my client. And believe me, I'm such a good therapist that the sessions were still good. If the sessions still started to suck and my client stopped changing, that would have been different. But I'm like really good, really, really good sober, but I'm still really good with that whole shenanigans that I was doing. And I do not feel it was malpractice or anything like that. I feel like it was still some wounded healer shit I never quit therapy. I never quit trying to get better. That was, and that was where the magic still remained for my clients. Okay, I have an addiction. That's when it was very, very clear to me. My intelligence, my integrity, that was the thing that was so shocking to me. My integrity was being overridden by my addiction. Do you think my addiction gives a fuck about my integrity? It does not. It is not. It doesn't. My integrity is not enough to fight my addiction. My good ideas are not enough to fight my addiction. My knowledge of addiction is not enough to help me fight addiction. There's a great book, I forget what it's called, Never Enough, Judith Grisel, and I love her so much because she's also I think she's a neuroscientist, but also maybe I think she's an MD, but she wanted to study the brain. She wanted to do research on the brain so she could figure out how to still drink and be sober and to not be an alcoholic. Like, that was her impetus. So intelligence is used in service of the addiction. Our intelligence means bullshit. My integrity, bullshit. The people that love me, bullshit. Nothing. My clients, it wasn't enough. My addiction is more powerful than that. So there was some brutal therapy sessions during that time. Again, I have always, the thing that I have always counted on, that I have always been a sincere seeker. My desire to heal from this was sincere. But now I was being met with a new challenge. And so what am I going to do? And so in recovery, you have to be willing to go to any lengths. And that is exactly what I did. So, all your good ideas, all your planning, your, new thing, your addiction doesn't give a shit. Your addiction doesn't give a shit. And if you're still in denial whether you have a food addiction or not, the only thing, if you keep saying, it's so painful to be like, I can't believe I did this, to I can't believe I did this again. And if you do this, whatever it is, again and again and again and again, and you get the same results, and it just leads you to the hell in a handbasket, you have an addiction. Like, you have an addiction. Why are you watching this? Like, to your core, like, this is an addiction. You have an addiction. And I don't give a fuck about, like, food addiction isn't real or whatever. That's fine. Like, that's fine. But I have an addiction. I have such an addiction. Everything in the fucking big book resonates with me to hardcore. And to be so brilliant, so creative, so smart, so dynamic, so charismatic, so giving myself a lot of compliments here, so good, so knowledgeable, it doesn't mean shit. My addiction is more powerful than all of that. So I had to find another solution. And it wasn't just an external solution, it was a solution inside of me. And I decided to go to any lengths. All right. I hope that was helpful. Love you. Bye.